Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this course, Journey of the Soul, a very important course, and I welcome everyone on Zoom and in person here. Some of you are here first time, so a warm Chabad welcome. We welcome you warmly here, and you're all part of the family. The good news is that if you stick around to the class, we finish with a good lunch, the bagels and lox. There's something to look forward to. So there's a guy on a date, and he's not sure if the date's going to go well, so he arranges that his friend should call him like 2 hours into the date. So his phone goes off, and he says to his date, "I'm so sorry, I just got a call. My grandfather died. I have to stop this date." And she says, "Oh, good. Now I don't have to tell you that my grandmother died." Journey of the Soul. I started this course with a little anecdote because I want this to be a class that is not a depressing class. It's actually a course that is uplifting, that is meaningful, that is purposeful, that has purpose and meaning. Really the JLI, which is the Jewish Learning Institute, those are not familiar, has put this course together. It is the most popular course. It's been taught for many times over. We have taught this course 2 or 3 times already, the last 17 years. Thousands of people taking this course. It's really a 6 classes, but because I speak very fast, I'm going to do it in 4. Oh, I have been unmuted the whole time. You missed the whole joke? Everything?
Oh dear, that was the funniest.
Oh. Okay, my apologies. What did we miss? Everything? Everything? My goodness gracious. All right. I didn't share anything other than a joke, so forgive me. What I'm going to do, Bella, I'm also connecting differently now. Hold on. I'm also connecting my phone to the Zoom, so. Oh, Geifman, which is good. Bella, can you call me when there's a problem? Because I don't look at my phone all the time. You tried? You hear me now? Clear? I daven to Hashem, we have no problems anymore. Okay, I'm going to recap again what I just said, not the joke. I can't repeat the joke twice, doesn't work. But, okay, there'll be some more. Welcome in the back. What is your name?
Please speak louder.
What is your name?
Melanie.
Melanie. You want to come closer?
But I'm with Melanie. If you could speak a tiny bit louder.
Okay, I haven't started.
but I'm on every word. I'm listening.
Okay, good.
We all are.
I will speak louder. Okay, so again, welcome to the Journey of the Soul. What I said earlier is that this is a 4-week class, but we're really doing 6 classes in 4 weeks. Today we're going to learn more about body and soul connection. We're going to learn more about life than death. To understand death, we first have to understand life. Next week we'll learn about the golden years. How do we make aging a meaningful experience? Very appropriate in our community. Also, we're going to discuss in lesson 3 what happens at death, what happens, the transition. We're going to discuss, can we connect? Is there an afterlife? Do we connect with our loved ones? What's the meaning of the traditions of funeral, burial, Kaddish, Shiva? We're going to discuss what's beyond that, Yizkor. And then we're going to go into the ideas of Jewish belief in not only in afterlife, Jewish ideas in reincarnation. Do Jews believe in reincarnation? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? All this information is really to make this life much more meaningful. And we start this class really with the idea. If I can ask for 2-3 volunteers, why are you here today at the class? Why did you come? What drew you to this course? Anybody raise their hands? Yes, Renee.
The most beautiful way to get back into Sabbath as soon as we arrive, a few days after we arrived from Europe, not having been able to be here. Number one, it's the best way to get back into the community and to see Rabbi and Rivka. Number two, I've lost a lot of people over the past 2 years, a lot of close friends and relatives, 2.5, 3 years. And number four, I think that community support for what I believe is an important thing to learn from life and
So thank you. First of all, a big welcome, Renee, back from Austria. We missed you. Been 2 years now. So welcome. We're so happy you're back.
exile.
Yeah, excellent. Good. And yes, you mentioned something important, especially a lot of people have lost loved ones in the last 2 years. No people, people themselves have lost loved ones, and that's definitely. Anybody else want to share another reason why they're here? Yes.
I'll share something from Woody Allen. He said, I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Good one. You remind me of a joke. There was a rabbi and a priest, and they're having a discussion what they want people to discuss at. Do you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, there's a lot of traffic.
I know. You might want to come closer, maybe sit here if you want. I try my best.
Okay.
Maybe next week I'll get a microphone. But the rabbi and priest are discussing what they want their people to discuss at their burial, when they're dying, when they're at the funeral, what they want people to discuss. And the priest says, I want people to get up at my funeral and say what a great man of faith I was, how I led the community, all the good things I did. And Rabbi, what would you want people to say when you're laying there at the chapel? And he says, I want people to be at my funeral and say, hey, look, he's moving. So here we are. All right. Okay, let me ask you another question. Irene, just grab a book. How do you feel about death? And that's a very personal question. How do you feel about death? Is it something that you're frightened of or not? But raise your hand. Are you afraid of death? Okay. I guess the other one are not afraid of death. You are. Maybe. As a matter of fact, is fear of death something healthy or is it paralyzing? If you say healthy, raise your hand. If it's paralyzing, raise your hand. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear of death can be very paralyzing. And fear of death is really a real thing. And in psychology, they have a they have a word for it. It's called, it should be in your book. I'm going to open up the slide. It's called terror management theory.
What?
Terror management theory.
Oh,
Okay? And the fancy word is tenophobia, which is the fear of death. And in this text, we're not going to read it out, but we'll read what it says on the screen. Our awareness of death and our effort to cope with the resulting fear influences many elements of our psyche and life choices. There we go. And that's really what the idea of terrorism is. Terrorism is to terrorize people, right, with the fear of death, that something is happening to you, something can happen to you any moment. Just the idea of living with that fear it can be extremely paralyzing. But we're going to discuss today the Jewish view because it is extremely unhealthy to be paralyzed by the idea of death. Now, everyone, like you said, they say two things are given. What? That you're going to die and you have to pay taxes, right? And we all face our mortality, and that is can be very frightening and paralyzing. And this course hopefully will give us the tools to alleviate and take away, not only not to be afraid, but to live life, again, uplifted, and live life not with that fear, so we can go through life with purpose and meaning. Let's jump into the Jewish view, and that is, before we talk about death, we need to talk about life, right? So what is the Jewish view of life? When does life begin? So here's another famous anecdote. The rabbi and a priest, again, rabbi and a priest, discussing when does life begin. The priest says, in our belief, life begins at conception. Rabbi, what's the Jewish belief? When does life begin? And the rabbi says, life begins when the kids leave to college. That's when life begins. Well, life, as it's defined in the Torah view, is not so much the physical life only, but really what's behind it. And what I mean is the famous word soul, in Hebrew called a neshama. We're going to explore today, really our focus is going to be, what is a soul, or what is a soul not? What is a neshama? And that is critical to understand in order to understand what death is, what death means. In order for us to understand what a soul is, we need to go and look at our mystics, because our mystics, mainly from the teaching of Kabbalah, they have the information of the mystical things, of soul things. So the expression is, do we know what happens after we die? Has anybody ever proven what happens after somebody passed away? What happens? And a lot of people shake their head no, and some people say yes. And that's going to be a discussion we're going to have. But let's start from the beginning. So let's start first from a very famous mystic, Rabbi Chaim Vital, who lived in Tzfas in Israel. And let's read text 2 on page 3 in your book. This is a text-based course, so we're going to use some text. Sometimes I'll skip a text. It doesn't mean you cannot read it after the class. There's also a nice appendix on the end of each class with a lot more extra reading to enhance the experience. Text 2. It is known to the wise that the human body is not the human being. It is merely the body of the human being. When we speak of the human being, referring to his inner dimension. The body is merely a garment in which the intellectual soul is attired during its sojourn in this world. So, who is the real I, according to this text? Is it the body or is it the soul? Soul. Okay, good. All right, so I'm not a particular body part, or even the sum of all my parts. Reading the slide. I am not my knowledge, intellect, or emotions or desires either. Right? I'm not my emotions, I'm not my intellect, according to this text. Who am I? I am a soul, my neshama. And who knows, what's the word neshama? What does neshama mean in Hebrew? Soul, right? Soul, right?
Yeah.
But what's the origin of the word? The word neshama comes from the word neshima, which means to breathe. To breathe. As we're going to read soon, when God created Adam, it says God created Adam by blowing, so to speak, a living soul, a neshama, God blew, so to speak, a living soul into Adam, which is so critical because we're going to learn what is this all about. So how did God create Adam? Let's look in text 3 in our Torah from Genesis on page 4, text 3. God formed man of soil from the earth and breathed into his nostril the neshama, soul of life, and man became a living being. Right? So, by the way, God created man from soil. What's the man? The body from soil. What did he call him? Adam. Adam. Why is it called Adam? What's the Hebrew word Adam? Adam is blood. Adam means earth. Earth. When you make a blessing on a fruit, on a vegetable, you say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adama, for creating the fruit from the earth. Adama. Adama means earth. Neshama means soul, blowing into his nostril. So you see here, it was a two phases in his creation. First body of earth, then soul breathing into his nostrils. And then in section 3b, everyone following? Yes? Okay. Bella comes up from you. Bella, you hear me? Uh-oh. Bella, you here? Good? Okay, good. Not so good. It's choppy. I don't hear you, Bella. Hold on. Bella, you want to tell me what's going on? So I don't want to exclude you guys.
Now it's good.
You hear me?
Yes.
Now it's good. Before it wasn't good?
Was
I'll bring the
checking.
mic a little bit closer. Okay, everything's recorded. Is it? Recorded? Yep, recorded. So in case you miss a joke, you can always go back to it. Okay. You know what, Bella, I'm going to keep you on mute, so you can just shout in.
Okay. All right.
Just don't put any stereo music in the background. Okay. All right. Text 3b. God said, it's critical we read the source of Torah. This is the word God's words. God said, let the earth bring forth living beings of different species. Here's where God creates all the other species, right? Animals, cattle, creeping things, and beasts of the earth, according to the species, and it was so. What do you, between those two texts, how God created humans and God created animals, what do you find the difference? Do you see a difference?
He didn't blow
a soul into them. Okay. So how did he create them? The life came out of the earth. In other words, the difference between humans and animals in creation is by humans, it was a two-step process. First body, earth, then God blew a soul into it. Animals, it was one combined experience. God brought the life out of the earth. The big question is, do animals have a soul? Do pets have a soul? Is there a pet heaven? That's a whole nother course. Okay, sign up in March. Okay. Well, the short answer is, yes, they have a soul, but a different type of soul. Okay, a different type of soul. There's a uniqueness to the human soul. And by the way, everything here is not referring to a Jew only. It refers to every human being. We were all created in God's image, which means God blew a living soul into Adam, and by extension into every human being. go one step further in the book of Tanya that we teach in the morning, Monday mornings. He makes a very strong statement that when God blew a soul, what does it mean blowing? Now we know in the beginning when God created, how did God create heaven and earth? What is the Torah? What does Genesis say? God spoke. God said, let there be light. God said, let there be the moon, let there be the sun. Speech, when it came to the soul, God is blowing. Now obviously God is not a human being. Those are just words to give us an idea of the meaning behind, of the power behind. There's nothing more powerful. When I speak, I can speak for many hours and don't get so tired. When you blow, you get tired very fast. Why? Because when you're blowing, it comes from your kishkas, we say in Yiddish, right? It comes from your insides. God literally gave a part of himself, so to speak, into every human being. That is the meaning why we were created in his image, which will understand why the soul is eternal. Because just like God is eternal, the soul is eternal. So I'm going to give away already one piece of information. The soul was not born at birth. The soul existed way before we were born. And the soul doesn't die at death. The soul continues to live on. And opens up a whole new discussion. Who was I in my last lifetime? What happens after? We're going to get there. This is all important information, but we're laying out the foundation today. Clear? All right. So what is it? Let's just click on the screen so we're with this PowerPoint. Bella, I'm still good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really going to work hard next week to make this a smoother experience. I'm sorry. Okay. Which comes out that the soul is not created together with the body, for one. Let me move this here. Does not perish when the body dies. And last, and this we're going to discuss now. Whoops. Okay. I don't know. It's not at home in the physical world. We'll see soon what that means. Let's analyze another text from the Medrash. The Medrash is part of the oral tradition, the oral Torah. And let's read text 4 on page 6. This is a very famous discussion that God has with the soul before it's born. Here it is. 40 days before the conception of a child, God summons the angel in charge of the souls and tells him, bring before me a certain soul who is now in paradise. Its name is such and such, and its appearance is such and such. This is because all the souls that are born in this world were created on the day the world was created and last until the end of time. The angel goes and brings the soul before God. The soul bows down and prostrates itself before the supreme King of Kings. I want you to enter the seminal drop that is currently in the hands of the angel in charge of pregnancy. God instructs the soul. The soul opens its mouth and says, Master of the universe, I'm quite satisfied with the world I inhabited since the day you created me. I'm happy in paradise. Why do you want me to come down into a body? I am holy and pure. From your throne of glory, why do you wish to cause me to enter this putrid drop? Okay. Oh, what amazing conversation going on, right? This little drop, little soul having a confrontation with God. But what do we see here? A few information. Number one, that the soul is created from the beginning of time and will last to the end of time. And I'm going to add one more point. I'll fix what I just said. The soul wasn't created from the beginning of time. God was not created from the beginning of time because time was created by God. So in a sense, the soul goes beyond time, beyond any limitations, any physical limitations. You know, it's hard to imagine, it's hard to visualize these things. That's why this concept is so hard sometimes to understand. Just like a blind man, right? You know, a blind man cannot understand certain things because they never see things. We are physical beings now who have a hard time visualizing these things. But the information that we have from our Torah, from our Kabbalah, give us at least a certain picture. All right. Number two, there's an angel involved, angel pregnancy. This is it's gonna get really happening over here. And there's a lot on that itself, on birth itself. And especially, I just welcomed a new baby 6 weeks ago, exactly 6 weeks ago. Thank you. I have many sleepless nights. The baby likes to be up at night. So I keep asking the baby, tell me a little more about the conversation that went on. And he's telling me, but the language I don't understand yet. All right. The most important, the most important we see is that the soul doesn't want to come down. The soul says, I'm pure, I'm good, I don't want to, I'm in paradise, I'll have a good time. I don't want to come. And God says, you need to go. So it's forced, so to speak, to come to this world. Go, question? Yeah.
So this is the key of why I'm here, and that is, does the soul have a personality, or are all souls the same? And it sounds like from this text, the soul is individual. It has individual characteristics. I want soul Susanna in that pregnancy now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So is one soul better than another?
Ooh, good question. Good question. Good question. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna give that answer many times over in this class. We'll get there. We'll get there. And no, but seriously, it's not a cop-out. I'm not afraid to answer the question, but we don't want to derail the flow of the class. But we'll get to those topics in the course, and ideally write down these questions, because as we're going to get more deeper, bring it back up, okay? Because obviously we can't cover everything. But in short answer, yes, they all have individual personalities.
Wow.
But on the source of it, we are all pure and godly. And as we progress, we adopt our personality in the process. A question?
All people, the souls is from paradise. Some of them is not.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yes, the question. All right, let's see the question. Here's an important Mishnah that we need to read. Text 5 on page 7. And that is from the Ethics of Our Father. This world, and by the way, those who don't know, I'm Swiss. My English, my third language. If I don't pronounce something properly, forgive me. This world is like an antechamber, which means a room, right, a preparation room before you go into the main chamber, before the world to come. This world means this physical world we're in. Prepare yourself in the antechamber so that you may enter the palace. A single moment of bliss in the world to come is greater than all of this world. Okay, let's analyze this text slowly. And now we're talking about two worlds, right? Our world that we're in right now, the physical world, and the world to come, or heaven. But now we'll call it heaven. A spiritual world where the souls come from and where the souls go to. So which one is what? So the Mishnah tells us that this world is the preparation room for the world to come. Like they say, Florida is the waiting room, right? What is it? That the old people live in Florida and the parents live in Venice? Florida's the best. This is no preparation room. This is where paradise is, right? you lived in hell up north. Now you come to paradise. So up north is the antechamber. Okay. All right. No, but in all seriousness, it's good to laugh for this class because we need to laugh more. We need to smile.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Good. This is not a grieving course, please forgive me. But we're gonna get to some real serious stuff, so I want to be sensitive. Of course, we'll finish. But here's the last part, which is so interesting. A single moment of what? Bliss in the world to come is greater than all of this world. So what is the bliss in the world to come that we are talking about? So just from reading it, and this is how traditional teaching interprets, is that we in this world, we work hard in this world to do good, do tikkun olam, to do mitzvot, and we get rewarded in the world to come. The soul gets rewarded. So every time you do something good, it's like you're getting brownie points for the world to come, and then the world to come, you're going to enjoy some type of reward. And the joy and the bliss in the world to come is way, 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 way better than any joy or bliss in this world. Okay? All right. Which means basically soul and body, right? Two identities. They come together. Is the soul interested in the body? Yes or no? Huh? You saying yes? Huh? It has to live there. Well, you read that it doesn't want to come in the body, right? It doesn't want. It says, I'm good where I am. God kind of forces the soul to come to the body. It's important. Body and soul are two different identities, right? Two identities that come together. Typically, body, when we say when I use the word body, physical, in teaching of Tanya and Hasidic philosophy, the body is what we call the selfish soul, the selfish force. It's the life force. It is by nature self-absorbed, not in a negative way. Just it's we're here to survive. The soul is very lofty. The soul is selfless, and they come together, and there's a conflict because the body wants to be lazy and has an ego and wants to gather materialistic stuff, and the soul wants to do lofty stuff, wants to be spiritual. So the soul really, and we just read, it's just it doesn't feel at home in this world. It's the waiting, it's the antechamber for the world to come. So the soul is not, in a sense, very happy in this physical world. All right. Now, on the other hand, what can come out of this conversation is that Judaism doesn't value life. If it's about the soul and the soul's journey, so to speak, and the body is not where it's at, it's really all about spirituality and soul. So why value life? Who cares if I die? Who cares if somebody gets killed? Okay, the soul is happier now. It's in a better place, people say, right? So does Judaism value physical life? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Resounding yes. Also, why? Why is that? Looking. Not only does Judaism value life, life is most important. Physical life is most important for everything. It comes before our health, comes before any mitzvot. Now, we know that God gave us the Torah. God gave us the commandments. So was the giving of the commandments just a nice manual for life, or is more to it? Well, look at text 7. The Talmud makes a very powerful statement, just to bring out how important life is. In text 7 on page 9, God says, God created the universe on one condition. If the Jews receive the Torah, he stipulated, you will continue to exist. If, however, they do not accept the Torah, I will return you to nothingness. So all of a sudden, the Talmud tells us that, Freddie, let us sit down. The whole universe, the whole creation was for us to keep Torah, right? For us just to keep Torah. If the Jews keep Torah, it's good. God says, if the Jews don't keep to the Torah, if they don't accept the Torah, at Sinai, I will turn you to nothingness. I will destroy the whole world. Which means that everything God created, in a sense, what was the whole purpose of creation? So we can do mitzvot, we can do tikkun olam in this world. So again, why was that important? If the soul is all happy in paradise, it's all spiritual, why did God create the whole world to create for Torah and mitzvot? What was the purpose? How does that go together? Um, which life is more important? Life in this world or life in the world to come? What do you think?
In this world.
This
Yeah,
world.
this world.
In this world. What do you think?
This is-
You can disagree.
do good.
Huh?
This is
This world is
where we can do good. You know.
so this world is where we can do good. This world is more important, you're saying?
Yes.
But this world is just a physical world. If we are just the antechamber, so in a sense, the next world is more important. No? Which one is more important?
This world.
This world. Who's talking? Linda?
I don't know what
Yes.
the next world.
You don't know
Yes.
what.
So we gotta
Okay.
take-
Did you answer the question? I'm sorry. Whoever says on Zoom, you can shout out the answer too. You're allowed to. Okay.
I said this world.
Okay, good. Mitzvot is here for our relationship with God. Life in this world is infinitely more important than life in the world to come, according to these texts. So we have a little bit of a challenge. One side should leave it. Yeah, good. One side, soul is eternal. On the other side, life here is much more important than the soul. So how do we bring those two things together? Look at here, this little anecdote on page 9, text 8. When Rabbi, Judah the prince, fell ill and was lying on his deathbed, Rabbi Chia entered and found him weeping. And he said, Master, said Rabbi Chia, why are you weeping? Was it not taught, if a man dies smiling, it is a good sign for him? If he's weeping, it is a bad sign for him? So Rabbi replied, I weep because of the Torah and the commandments that I will no longer be able to study and observe. So he didn't fear the afterlife. He wasn't looking for it. He wanted to know, can I do the mitzvot here in this physical world? When I die, I can no longer do that. Let's move to the next slide. All right, we said the soul is in the body is like a stranger on foreign soil. All right? And let's recap. The real me. The real me is my soul, not my body. The real me, the soul is eternal. Hence, I am eternal. The real eternal me is unaffected by birth and death. This last part is very important. It's unaffected by birth or death. You understand why? Why is the real eternal me unaffected by birth or death? Because I existed before that, and I will exist after that, and I am a pure soul, a part of God, and I'm unaffected by what happens in this physical world. However, it comes down to this physical world for a mission, and the mission is to do good things, to do mitzvot. And that can only be done in this physical world. So we have this conflict, and that's why the soul is also conflicted. Remember, in the conversation God had with the soul doesn't want to come down to the world. And that's why the soul is forced to come into this world. God says you have a mission. So let me ask you, does the soul look forward to the next stage? If the soul is forced to come down to this world, is the soul now looking forward for death after it dies so it can go back to where it came from?
No.
Or it's also forced to die? Yes?
Yes.
Forced to die?
Yes. Yes.
Or looking forward? Who says forced
Forward.
to die? Raise your hands. And who says looking forward? Raise your hands. Okay, 50-50. That's exactly the problem we have. Okay, it's exactly the problem. Well, that is complex ideas. Is actually what's the English word? Two ideas come together or contradict each other.
Cognitive dissonance.
There you go. That's the word.
What's the word?
Okay.
What was the word?
Cognitive dissonance. Right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
That's 2 words.
Two words.
That
Two
comes
words.
out of a psychologist.
That's what Judaism is all about. It's the beauty of Judaism. Because when two ideas clash, you transcend a new idea that is the truth to it. And when we're talking about an infinite soul, infinity and a finite body, they clash. But in essence, that's the whole picture. So let's say in text 9, this is really reinforces what we just said. In text 9, it says in the Mishnah, against your will, you are formed. Against your will, you are born. Against your will, you live. And against your will, you die. Okay? Okay, oxymoron, that's what it is. It's an oxymoron. And that's what we have, that's the mixed feeling that we're talking about. And let's now see, we only read the first part of the Medrash where the soul is resisting to God. I don't want to come down, I'm good in paradise. What does God respond? Look in the next text, text 10. God responds to the soul, the world to which I am sending you is better for you than the one in which you have dwelt until now. When I created you, I did so for this drop. At that moment, God entered it against its will. And so, boom, without any further discussion, hey, the world I'm sending you is better for you than the world you're in now. Right? And God kind of forces the birth to happen. Not the birth, the soul to come into the body. Boom. Right? That's where the baby cries, where am I, right? Where am I? But didn't we read earlier in the text that a moment of bliss in the world to come is greater than any moment here in this world? Doesn't that contradict what God just said to the soul? God says, this world is better. This world is better.
Not a contradiction.
Not a contradiction. She already knows the answer. Good.
No.
Let's see. 1 second. I want to hear your answer. Look in text 11 from the Mishnah and tell me, and then you can answer. Tell me if that helps to answer the question. And read it carefully. Text 11. A single moment of repentance and good deeds in this world is greater than all the world to come. And I repeat, as what we learned earlier, a single moment of bliss in the world to come is greater than all of this world. Does that contradict each other?
Not if we're Jewish.
Very confused.
That's funny.
I wanted you to be confused. Mission accomplished. Thank you. Only through confusion you can come to the answers. We need to strip away all the prior knowledge we have. Okay. Did it help your answer?
I'm not confused.
You're not confused. All right.
Wrong, but I'm not confused.
Okay. Linda, right? Melanie, sorry. Go ahead, Linda.
So what I think I'm hearing is that there are stages. So you're a baby soul in paradise. That's stage 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then you graduate. God forces you to graduate into life here, which is a necessary and important step to getting to the ultimate paradise after. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So you're saying 3 steps, basically.
Right.
Okay, 3 steps, which is true. Before you're born, then paradise. But what you just read earlier, which one is better? Which world is better? Step 1, step 2, let's make it easier. Is step 1 better or step 2 better? Which one is better?
2.
2, this
I
world.
like two.
2.
I'll take
What you
two.
just read here, what does it say? Which one is better? We're confused because the first line it says, okay, a single moment of what? Of repentance and good deeds in this world is greater than all the worlds to come. What does it say? A single moment of what? Of mitzvot, of good deeds, of repentance, right? Is greater than all the world to come. Why? Because in the world to come, you cannot do any more mitzvot. You don't have the body, you don't have the spacesuit, you don't have the vehicle to do a mitzvah, correct? However, a single moment of bliss, what's bliss? The pleasure in this, for the world to come is greater than all, and I would say all of the pleasures of this world. So we're talking about pleasure and bliss, right? people think that what is the pleasure in this physical world? Mundane things, right? Those are the pleasures of the world. So the Mishnah says, pleasure for the soul in the world to come is greater, but action, the mitzvah, a moment in this world is greater in the world to come. So basically, did it get slowly clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I clarify this?
It's just new to me, to be perfectly honest. I thought of the world to come. I never thought that of sort of heaven. I thought that was a Christian idea. You know, I always, very different from where I come. I always felt that that's how we're remembered. And then it's what you do is how you live on. There isn't an actual place.
Right. And thank you for sharing that with us. And I want to tell you, it is very new to you, it's very new to many people. And I'm going to say just one statement and then we'll elaborate later on it. The Christian believes of afterlife, hell and heaven, reincarnation, resurrection, all Christian terms, right? All Jewish ideas, all the basics, foundation of Judaism. That Christians have, I don't want to use the words, copy and paste into their religion. Now, we're not talking about the Christian religion in this course, but the point is, and makes many Jews uncomfortable because when they hear about afterlife, they think of Christian ideas, and actually, it's actually the opposite. So my point in my giving this course is the idea: let us educate what our Torah tells us all about it, so you can get a much deeper understanding. And it's a lot of new things to digest. I totally get that. So, and I'm not telling you have to accept everything I say right now. But
it's very tempting.
Okay, I'm not selling anything. Sure, they say Judaism is the best business to be. We have the best business to be in because we're the longest lasting. We've been around 3,000 years, survived every recession, right? Because we have the best product. So, yeah. But it's and I'll say one more statement, and it pains me that we have missed to teach these very fundamental ideas, especially in our Hebrew schools, at the bar mitzvah lessons, and Jews grow up not knowing any of these ideas and live a whole life lacking some very basic that can bring so much meaning into their life. And
True.
At the end, even post fundamental ideas of Judaism because of lack of education. And bar mitzvahs have been a failed institution where it's all about memorizing a passage of Torah, and the child, dreads it and says, "I'll never want to come back to temple because that's what all Judaism is all about." We need to give meaning and purpose to our children, to our youth, the teenagers, the young people, but it's never too late. It's never too late. Anyways, that's what we're here for. It's really our mission is to educate. We're not telling people how to live life. We're here to share the beauty and the treasures of Torah. All right.
Rabbi,
Yes.
you started the session with asking why we're here.
Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, I was raised in a conservative environment, some of but
Sorry.
that stuff was, I'm saying, I was raised in a conservative, orthodox, but this was never discussed. And that's why I wanted to be here to hear this. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nia, for sharing that. Thank you.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I understand this is the community we're in. So you're not alone, by the way. 95% of people come with this idea, with the background that you have.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But you're Mazel Tov for coming. Congratulations. Beautiful. All right. Then we're just scratching the surface. most of what we teach today in the class, we are written out in many of the Hasidic and mystical teachings. Hasidic philosophy is not what we refer to Hasidic Jews, but like the foundational work of the Chabad Rebbe 300 years ago, the Book of Tanya, which we are now, I teach it every Monday morning. I haven't given a plug for the class. We're in chapter 41, and it took us like 3-4 years to learn it, and we still haven't finished, right, Bella? And after this course, by the way, on next month, the JLI is coming out with a course called Meditation from Sinai, which takes a lot of these concepts and teaching Jewish meditation, which is also a big topic, because a lot of Jews are into meditation, yoga. Again, a lot of these ideas are taken from ancient Jewish wisdom, not taught in your regular Hebrew school. But there's a big difference between Jewish meditation and other meditations, and we have a wealth of how we can enhance our life. We'll be taught in the next course starting on Monday, February 7th, I believe, 10:30. Sign up. Anyways, okay, this was the plug. Moving on. I want to go. I'm gonna. What are you holding? Okay, everything we just learned. Bella, we're still good? You hear me? All right. Everything we just learned. Let's move to the next slide. Okay. It basically helps us to take away this fear of dying, because basically what we learn, death is not the end. Death is not the end of our life. It's just a transition, in a sense, to another world. And if, like the Rebbe said, he was always crying. He was crying not that he was afraid of dying. He was crying that he can no longer fulfill his mission or do mitzvot in this world. That was most important to him. What do I do in this world now? And what happens next world is the next step. But I don't have to be occupied what happens to me when I die, because when I die, I will get the bliss, right? I will enjoy the bliss of the work I have done here. I think one of the great Hasidic rabbis by the name of Zusha, he once walked around his house and said, "Where is Zusha? Where is Zusha?" And the student said, "Rebbe, what are you doing? Where is Zusha?" And he says, "You're here. What's the question?" He says, "No. I'm asking the question because one day I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna be laying here, and everyone's gonna say, 'Where is Zusha?' Everyone's gonna say, 'Where is Zusha?' I'm looking for that Zusha. I'm looking for that Zusha." What did he mean by that? He didn't define his life by his physical activities, right? He was trying to he would define his life by his spiritual pursuit in this world. And he was looking for that identity. He was asking himself, where am I? Who am I? Where is Zusha that everyone's going to ask? Because when we die, what do we leave behind is going to be another question. Let's move on. One more story of the previous Chabad Rebbe. The previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, who actually his yahrzeit is tonight. Tonight is the day of his passing. Passed away in 1950. He lived in the Soviet Union, came to America in 1940 with his son-in-law, who became the Chabad Rebbe, the Rabbi Schneerson of blessed memory. And while he was in Russia, he fought communism. He fought to keep up the Jewish life. Amazingly, under Stalin's nose, he orchestrated to keep over 600 schools, Jewish schools mikvot and shuls in operation. In 1927, he was arrested with a death sentence, and that miraculously was turned over to a exile into some exile place, and he was actually released. But when he was interrogated, there was a KGB officer who happened to be Jewish, right? Surprise, surprise, and tried to get the Rebbe to talk, and the Rebbe wouldn't share any information. He took out his pistol, and he said, "This little toy," told the Rebbe, "this little toy made many people talk. You better talk." And the Rebbe told him that this little toy made people talk, people who have many gods in one world. And this is the quote: "We have one God and two worlds. As such, I don't panic at the sight of your toy. It has no effect on me whatsoever." He wasn't afraid. Now, does that mean that he was just ready to die? We Jews don't embrace dying. We're not a religion that celebrates death, right? To go kill each other or kill yourself. It's actually forbidden. Not only is it obviously forbidden to kill somebody, it's one of the greatest sins to kill yourself. But he understood that whatever his mission is, that's where it's at. Right now, his mission is to be in this world and do everything possible he can to fulfill his sole purpose. But if he dies, that's the next step. But that's a very powerful story. Now, last part here. And this might be a little bit of a sensitive topic for today's discussion, and that is, who determines when we die? So Judaism takes the approach that everybody comes to this world with a certain allotted time to fulfill its purpose. We didn't talk so much about purpose, but go back. God says you need to come down to this world in a physical body, because in order for a soul to express itself, it needs to be in a body. And you have a certain mission to do. And when that mission is finished, I will call you back. So nobody really lives an extra moment. It was, in a sense, predetermined how long we live. Now, I know what you think. What does it mean? Somebody killed somebody, they got sick. Was that part of the plan? Let's for a moment not delve into that. But let's go with this. And this really out of famous text in text 12. Many people know this from King Solomon. In text 12, everything has an appointed season, and there's a time for every matter under the heaven. Right? A time to be born, and a time to die. And the Medrash says in text 12b, a time to be born and a time to die. From the time of birth, is a time to die. From the moment of birth, it is already destined how many years a person will live. And by definition, death cannot be prematurely imposed on a person by illness or accident. Right? And look at text 13. We must believe that no created being can benefit or harm us without the permission of the Creator. We say that at Yom Kippur, at the Nisana Tokef prayer, famous prayer, right? Who shall die? Who by sword? Who by strangulation? Right? Everything is decided by God when we die. Exactly when. Which the point here I want to make is not so, I don't want to get into that conversation, is more that there is really no fear, no need to fear of death, because that is already decided. And that's decided when we have finished accomplishing why we're here in this world. And to say I'm afraid of death is just a lack of understanding of the basic ideas of Judaism, why we're here and where we came from and where we're going. Now, yes.
So the soul should be one of both. So it's the soul because he is doesn't want to go to this body and harms his body or something because he's not willing to go.
Does it harm the body if the soul is not willing to?
No, the soul
Yeah,
goes to this body
yeah.
because that goes to
Oh, does it harm the body because they don't want to come to the body? No, no. Yes.
I've had a number of friends who have killed themselves.
Yes.
That is predestined.
Yes.
Time, place. And how can killing yourself be a sin? If this is already
Okay.
set up like that.
Okay, that's a good question. There's a question here. Those ones zoomed on here. It's a good question. She knows people who kill themselves. If death is predestined, how can killing yourself be a sin? Considered a sin? I'm going to give you just the 30-second answer. Okay. Only God can take life. It's the conflict idea. Do we have freedom of choice and predetermination? Okay. So, in a sense, we have God gave us freedom of choice. In our realm, we need to do what's the right thing that God has asked us to do. So we can't determine when take our own life. Say that, well, God decided today I'm going to die. Let me just take my life today. We never know when our time comes. Rather, after the fact, something happened. This is more for the remaining family and friends. We need to accept what's the blessing we make when somebody dies. We say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. What is that? Blessed are the true is the true judge. We accept the judgment. We accept that this was the time for the person to go. That God has made that time. But we, in our own capacity, are never allowed to take our own life or shorten, which will come to discussion in the next class or two about the end of life issues as well. This is a big topic. But good question, important question. But again, all the information we'll learn today, our questions become different questions. Our situations, we can reframe them differently. And that's really a hope it can help us navigate through these very difficult conversations. Let's conclude with one more topic, and that is the life of a tzaddik. What is a tzaddik? A saint. Okay, a saint. Huh? A wise person. That's a chacham. A tzaddik is more like a pious person, almost like a saint. This is the Jewish mother anecdote. This Jewish mother, sends the first boy on the first day to school, and says, "Okay, my angel, my saint, today is going to be your first day of school," and she puts him on the school bus. "Okay, my tzaddik, have a good time, my angel." And the boy comes back after the first day, and the mother says, "So, my angel, what did you learn today in school?" He says, "Mom, I learned my name is Harry." So tzaddik means a tzaddik is a person who but in title, in Torah terms, a tzaddik is a person who lives a life of spirituality. He or she is less engaged in materialistic pursuit, more in spiritual pursuit. Or let me say this quote, and remember this from today's class. Based on what we learned, we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. That's very profound. It really goes to the core. Who am I?
That's very profound.
Am I a body or am I a soul? Right? We most times define ourselves as physical beings. And we're going to have some spiritual experiences. Go to synagogue, Yom Kippur, do a mitzvah here and there. We're going to learn we are truly spiritual beings. The soul is who we are. The soul's desire is to be 24/7 doing what God wants us to do mitzvot, to be good, to be spiritual. We happen to be in a physical body. It's a partnership. Now, I want to make clear, it's not all or nothing. Okay, oh my gosh. Rabbi, we're not tzaddikim. It's not all or nothing. It's really, we call Chabad one mitzvah at a time, right? The moment you do a mitzvah, the moment you study Torah, just like now, you're fully immersed in a spiritual experience. It's who you are. You feel at home. Talks to you. And we don't do that enough. We nurture a lot our health of our body. We don't nurture enough the health of our soul. A tzaddik here refers to a person whose majority is much more into nurturing his soul, not to neglect the body. The body is important. That's why we have an obligation to take care of our health, because the body doesn't belong to us. The body was given to us as the vehicle to do good in this world. That's why you cannot take your life. You cannot damage your body. You're not to put yourself in danger. It's not up to you. In American law, you have your own freedom. In Jewish law, you have an obligation. It's not freedom of what you want to do. The question is, what is my obligation? That's why my mother says, don't go bungee jumping. I went skydiving. All right. So okay. But look at this statement. And this is text 14. And then we'll go for lunch. Tzaddikim, righteous people, page 13, are considered alive even after their demise. All right. I read again. Righteous people, tzaddikim, are considered alive even after their demise, even after their death, right? So what is it referring to? To their soul, to their afterlife? What does it mean they're alive after? What do you think? Yes. The neshama?
The memories of my past loved ones, the experiences that I've had, try to share with other people. That's, to me, that's the everlasting.
The everlasting, or the memories of your loved ones. Okay. Anybody else want to share something else on this topic, on this line? What does it mean that they're considered alive? You're saying memories, right? They left something behind.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And so why is it only a tzaddik that are alive? Everybody leaves memories, right?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be just only righteous people. Everybody should be included. It should say all people are considered alive even after their death. Why is it referring to tzaddik? Because they did good things in their life. Everybody does a lot of good things in their life, right?
Uh-huh.
You know the joke of the rabbi who made a rule that at the funeral, he's not going to bury a person unless somebody has something good to say about the person. So one funeral was Moshe the Ganav, the thief. And the rabbi says, anything good to say about him? And nobody had something good to say. And the rabbi said, I'm not going to bury him until somebody has something good to say. And people are like, come on, we're going to finish up. So rabbi says, no. One guy says, okay, rabbi, I have something. He gets up, says, Moshe the Ganav has a brother who's a lot worse than him.
Such a thing as a rotten soul.
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there. Lesson four. There's such a thing as I'm sure you're bringing a bag with your rotten souls with you. Leave them at home. No. But really, I want to. This last line here is so important. It doesn't mean the memories. Like we say, he left good memories. That is obviously a given, but it means more than that. It's something deeper. Every person in this world is occupied either with materialistic things or a spiritual pursuit, right? A person who the majority of his life or their life was into the materialistic things, that life, that defines their life, that life dies at death. It doesn't continue to live on. But if the pursuit of life were spiritual, it was doing mitzvot, it was doing what really matters in life. So while they were alive in this physical body, they were living a soul life. That soul life, that's who they are. That's Zusha was looking for. Who am I? That's who they find themselves. That life doesn't die at death. It continues to live on. So in a sense, they're not just leaving the world and now, okay, it's a new life they're starting. Their life that they have lived a paradise life in this physical world. That's much more powerful than saying the memories lives on with us, which is the message to us. How do I live my life now? How can I make my life more meaningful? What is my priorities in life? And if we remember that person who their priority was to do good in the world, which is soul, and when they die, that good that they have done continues to live on, doesn't die. But if you say, oh, he was a good movie actor, right? He was a good movie actor, well, it's done. It was a good, all the while was about fame and money, and that was defined the person's life. That dies. Yeah, memories will continue to watch the movies. But somebody who leaves a legacy, soul legacy, that they made a difference and it continues to perpetuate, that's what the Talmud says over here, so beautiful. And look at text 15. All right, 6 more minutes to bagels. Okay, so life of spiritual pursuit. The life of the tzaddik, text 15, yeah, page 14. The life of the tzaddik is not physical but spiritual and consists of faith, reverence, and love. There is scriptural support for equating these three qualities with life. Of faith is written, the tzaddik lives by his faith. Of reverence is written, reverence of God produces life. And love is written, he who pursues charity and kindness will find life, and kindness is rooted in love. So basically, we need to, what we're doing here is we're reframing the definition of life. So we think of life, what happens from birth to death. Today's class hopefully helped us redefine life, not what happens between birth and death. That's not the beginning of life, the end of life. Rather, our life is defined by the soul. What's the soul purpose and meaning now? Not what happened back then or what's going to happen next. Rather, what am I doing right now for my soul in this physical world? And I mention this because it's so important. I grew up in Europe. I went to a non-Chabad school. I went to a Torah school. That the emphasis was very strongly, we do mitzvot now here, so we get the bliss in the world to come. It was all matter of doing things here, so we can get a nice paradise. And Hasidic teaching, Chabad teaching, from Kabbalah really, and from Talmud here, emphasizes it's not about what happens later. The most important time of your life is now, this very moment. And every moment is meaningful. Every moment is important. Every moment is sacred. And that's why the Torah tells us, last text, choose life. Torah tells us, God says, Moses tells to the Jewish people before he dies, God says, I gave you life and death. And I'm telling you, choose life. Now, what type of choice is that? Obviously, I'm going to choose life. Does God need to tell us to choose life? And the answer is, Moshe is telling us, choose the true definition of life. You can live a life in this world, but it's really death, meaning you're not living life. You're living a physical, deadly, spiritual, deadly experience. You're not being true to yourself, so to speak. Look here, text 16. Last text. Behold, I have set before you today life and goodness and death and evil, and you shall choose life. The word life in this verse does not mean physical life, nor does death refer to the time when the soul departs the body, but which simpleton needs to be instructed to choose to live. Every creation, even when alive and fully existent, contains both life and death. The physicality of the object is intrinsically lifeless. It is a constant state of decline and deterioration. We see this decline in every physical object as well as in ourselves, as our physical capabilities and powers weaken with time. The spiritual divine within everything, on the other hand, is alive and eternal, and not subject to destruction or deterioration, God forbid. So that is basically the choice we make between life and death. So, just to conclude this class, let's go here. Something life is what happens. I'm reading the slide. What happens between birth and death. But life is a part of the person that is never born and never dies. Life beyond death, two pursuits, mortality and immortality. When we live and identify with eternal values, we become eternal. It's such a powerful line. When we live and identify with eternal values, we become eternal. Choose life. I'm going to show you a video that was provided, but I need to stop this slideshow. And all right, I have two friends, rabbis, Chabad rabbis, live in California and run Chabad houses, and decided to take these teachings and bring it to the youth in music, in their language. And they created a band called the Eighth Day, like the eighth day of Hanukkah, the eighth day. If you have Spotify, go online, listen to the music. It's so beautiful, so rich. And they have made a song on this topic, and they're explaining the song with a story. This is how we're going to conclude the class. So if it's going to be a little hard to see it, let's make sure everyone. It's a 3-minute video clip. Before I start the clip, we're going to take questions right after doing the shmooze. If you want to ask questions, I'm here. This was the first class. I invite you to continue the course. I'm really passionate about this course. So please sign up. And if you have a hard time with the fee is set by the JLI, the Jewish Learning Institute. We have some scholarships available. If that's going to hold you back from learning, we don't want that to happen. Let me start this. Also, if you miss a class, everything's recorded. If you did not sign up, you didn't get an email from me last night or this morning, please leave your email with Freddie. You can sign up and pay her. And if there's not enough books, we'll order more books by next week. If you're on Zoom, either pick up a book or we can mail you the book. I'll mail it out today, but let me know if you're local, prefer if you pick it up so I don't have to use postage, or we can have it delivered. If you're missing a class, everything will be recorded, and every time after the class, God willing, I will email out the recording, the Zoom recording, so you can listen to it, you can listen to it again. I'm always available for questions even after class. And here is the video.
Why wait to celebrate? Bright lights in city streets.
Eighth Day is a popular Hasidic rock band.
Why wait to celebrate?
One of their hits was inspired by a powerful episode in the life of the second leader of the Hasidic movement, Rabbi Dovber of Mezerich.
A student goes to visit a sage, and the sage has nothing in his house. And he says, "Where's your couches? Where's your chandelier?" And he says back to the student, "Where's all your stuff? You just have a suitcase." And the student responds, "But I'm just passing through." And that's when the sage says, "Aha, I'm just like you. I'm also just passing through."
To his student's assertion, Rabbi Dovber responded with a transformative insight.
That's when he said, "I'm just like you. I'm just passing through, just like you.
temporary.
Where people spend most of their life collecting stuff. And the sage tells them, I'm actually just like you. I also collect stuff. It's just not that type of stuff. Not leather couches and chandeliers. I collect treasures of another kind.
You know, he stays focused on that higher goal.
Rabbi Dovber taught his students that this world's glitter is a distraction that expires when the journey of corporeality chugs to an abrupt end. Better to invest in treasures of a kind that will benefit the soul in its eternal destination.
I'm just like you. I'm just passing through, just like you. My heart wants to feel something that's real, and my mind hopes to find treasures of another kind. And if you had my eyes, you'd see a palace for you and me. And my heart wants to feel something that's real, and my mind hopes to find treasures of another kind. And if you had my eyes, you'd see a palace for you and me. A palace for you and me.
Her name is Shmuel and Betsy Marcus. Related to you? Maybe, huh? Okay. All right. And I'll also send a link to this video if you couldn't see it. Listen to it again. Up here. Okay. This concludes lesson 1. Everyone on Zoom, it was good seeing you. Anybody have a question want to ask?
Was the soul, I have a question.
Yeah.
Was the soul Jewish? I mean, who else would argue with God?
Good question. Yeah, exactly. You know, to say that we just always answer a question with a question. You know why?
Why not?
Why not? Good, you know. Well, what's the difference between a Jewish optimist and a Jewish pessimist? A Jewish pessimist says it can't get any worse, and the Jewish optimist says yes, it can. Anyways, we're better to have some good bagels and lox, and we'll learn that bagels and lox is a very spiritual experience. Right? The idea of eating,
you got to feed your
you got to feed your body in a healthy way. Eat healthy, so your body can do what the soul needs to do. Freddie, you're here. If anybody wants to order a book, let Freddie know. I might have some extra in my office. If somebody did not get a book, wants a book, one. Okay, you can give her the information. You can just write down her card number to take it down. Anybody else needs a book today? Here?
I want to get a book, Rabbi, but I'll come by and pick it up.
Thank you, Linda. You got it. Be in touch. All the best on Zoom.